I think you maybe heard me talk to Wakefield. If you guys were in there, I think this is your presentation. You own it. Do it however you please. You're talking to everybody. Just act like you're talking to a neutral party. Don't just look at me and Chris and Joyce the whole time. Talk to everybody. Enjoy your time. Nobody knows it better than you do, so be confident. Here you go.
Here we go. I am Keith Hoffman, building principal here at the middle school in Clayton. I'll introduce our redesign team. Start with our co-pilots, which are Cindy Rowe and Carla Fickus, and our other design team members, Rhonda Gearhand. You won't forget her right there, so stay seated. Caitlin Curtis, Lisa Bauer, and J.B. Lane. All right, I'll turn it over to them.
I get to start us off this morning with first of all, talking about our year. And our year has been a year of excitement, frustrations, there's been challenges, there's been a lot of ahas. But overall, just as a whole staff, it's been, we can do this. And so it's been exciting to see everybody come together. Our vision, or our goal, let me start with our why. Our why that we came up with, we wanted to help our students develop and apply skills so that they could thrive, not just survive in our changing world. And then the vision that we came up with was just innovating to inspire our future. And our goals, as we worked through to come up with our goals, we worked as a staff and with our students, we listened, well, I guess we started out with listening to our students and our staff. We listened to our parents and our community, and then we listened more and more. And our staff, they worked to research with our investigation teams on what were good practices. Students and staff did a lot of brainstorming and big dreaming as well. And some of the things that we came up with as we worked through those was that we needed to have our kids engaged in their learning. And some ways that we felt like that came through that also was that we needed greater rigor in our curriculum. We needed more choice. Students wanted us to be concerned about their interests and give them more choice and pace and place that they were learning. They also talked about hands-on. They wanted more hands-on. We felt like we could do more of that through project-based learning. And then at the middle school is a huge relevance time. They wanted to know why they're doing this. And we also saw a disconnect. They didn't understand how classes work together, and also how that those also make connections to the real world. So that was something else that we felt like was important. And then because of our diverse student makeup of our building, we felt like that we really needed to incorporate social emotional skills and employability skills so that just throughout our building wide, so that we had common language throughout to help our students and staff. And I guess as we've worked through these goals this year, we've had a lot of aha moments, but one thing, I think one of our greatest ahas has come in that this is a process, and it's a process that we'll use year to year, and as we continue to grow and change and as new needs arise.
A couple of the things that we've done throughout our community was to let people know what redesign was. Even though we really didn't know, we were trying to make sure that we were getting the word out there that we were going to be doing this. And so one of the things that we did as a district was made a video that kind of explained what might be coming up.
prepared me for?
My education prepared me for
My education prepared me for.
My education prepared me for.
My education prepared me for. My education prepared me for.
My education prepared me for.
My education prepared me for.
My education prepared me for.
My education prepared me for.
My education prepared me for.
My education prepared me for.
My education prepared me for. My education prepared me for.
And so one of the things that we wanted to make sure that after talking to the community and hearing some of the things that they wanted and surveying them, one of the things that Cindy talked about was employability skills and making sure that our kids are prepared. And as we're at the middle school level, we have to actually start thinking about that, because once they go on to the high school, they are ready for those jobs. And so what were we doing? How did we need to change what we were doing to make things better for those kids, for their future in the world? And so this is a video of our story this year.
Welcome to Clay Center Community Middle School, home of the Bengals. We're located in Clay Center, Kansas. Population approximately 4,700. Our school is home to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade with a total enrollment of 273. We are a rural community where 39% of our students are bused to school each day. Our district encompasses 632 square miles, including 4 small towns surrounding Clay Center. 42% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunches, which puts us in a low socioeconomic area.
So where do we begin? At the beginning would be a great place. In May of 2018, we were asked as a school to vote if we wanted to be a redesigned school, and we voted yes. But what was redesigned? We didn't find out until right before school started that we were accepted, and we had a lot of work to do. Our heads were exploding like the cascading drainage ditch by school. We weren't for sure what redesign was or how to get started, so we asked the experts, our students, and here are a couple of their answers.
I think the redesign process is a way for the school to help prepare kids for their future jobs. In our school, I would like to see the redesign process change some of the classes we have. I think that we should have more hands-on classes. We should have more classes like Intro to Construction and Industrial Arts for every grade, not just 8th grade. If we have more of these classes, there would be more students interested in coming to school. Also, it would help the kinesthetic learners understand more. We don't have enough classes for kinesthetic learners like we do for auditory and visual learners. I believe if we had classes like these, some students would have better grades because they would be able to figure things out instead of trying to learn by listening and watching.
I think redesign is a new way to prepare kids for lives beyond high school. I think we could redesign what classes we put kids in, not just by age, but by skill level. Students will accomplish and learn more by moving at their own pace, not just academic classes either. I think we should have more classes that will teach us how to do our jobs so we won't as adults. We do a pretty good job preparing us for college, but I think more classes to help introduce us to our job skills would help.
We gathered our RST redesigned school team, got our subs for a year, and off to work we went. Gathering data, building investigation teams, sorting data, gathering more data, looking at our trends, asking our stakeholders what a perfect day of learning would look like for the future, and finally coming up with a why we needed to change.
So what is our why? To develop and apply skills to thrive in our changing world. And our vision statement is to remind us, innovating to inspire our future. Our mission inception was complete.
As we began to build our launch pad, we took the data from the stakeholder surveys and discussions and began to look at possible prototypes. Not only did we look at data, but we had several on-site visits to launch schools to get information from them.
As a district, we started spreading the word. Social media, parades, booths, handing out stickers, public videos, and up-close television interviews. Whatever we could come up with to draw an interest and get the word out what we were doing for our students' future.
Following the Kansas CAN vision and 4 redesign principles, we began prototyping in student success skill area. One-on-one advising time. Flexible seating.
Social emotional time, building relationships with teachers and friends. With choice during Bengal break of places to go and things to do. After many pivots, Bengal break became a favorite.
In the design principle of personal learning, this one was probably one of the hardest for us to attack. Allowing students to be in control of their learning at their speed and their choice of how they learn best was hard to take out of the control of the teachers. We prototyped personal learning in all 3 grade levels in the core areas of 6th grade math with Dreambox, 7th ELA with Playlist, 7th science with project-based learning, and 8th grade social studies with the Pearson curriculum.
Real-world applications gave students the opportunities to show their talents in flight design, drafting, building, community service, growing, community issues, life skills, such as sewing, cooking, and job interviews.
We have such a great community, so working in the area of community engagement is easy. Our community is so supportive of our school district that they back us and are always willing to help us in so many ways. From coming to the classrooms to help or share, to letting us come and tour their business and learn about their careers. Sharing about our redesign trip thus far is exciting to share with them. Let's listen as some of our students share with our District Board of Education.
I'm Megan I'm an 8th grader at Clay Center Middle School. Redesign has given many students a lot more freedom. I know it gives everyone more choices, to do work, go outside, or just talk to friends and make more independent choices.
I'm Sarah Beth Martin, I'm a 7th grader at Clay Center Middle School. Redesign has impacted me so that I have become more responsible with how I choose to spend my time and work on things that I should have to get done so that I don't have to do it after sports practice.
Well, and pause, our second pause, every week we do a thumbs up or thumbs down on how redesign has been going. So on bagel break, it'll say how everyone likes it, and they'll look at all how everyone voted.
They help students to go to certain places to help them get their grades up if they have low grades, so that they don't fail class. And they send out a lot of surveys to get our input, what we think about it.
In middle school, your guys' schedule kind of changed recently, and you're not not every day is 8 hours a day. So can you explain how that changed? Was it a week or two ago?
Well, so we have bagel break, which replaces 6 hour, which is where you just go to a class. Not we ate. Well, okay. Well, first it started with an hour, and you gotta eat and go to a class and work or talk and do whatever. But that kind of got out of hand. So we
rein it back in.
Yeah. So we did class grade eating times, and then after your 5th hour, we had 25 minutes to just go to a class, work, and you have to stay there and get your paper signed, so it's proof that you were there. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, we have block schedule, and it's on days and
Fridays and even days. And so then it's not bad, but it gets to be a long time in one class, learning about the same thing. Yeah.
Documenting and tracking the prototypes helps the teachers to know what is working, what may need to be pivoted. Sharing the scoreboards where the information is available to all students helps to encourage them to keep our numbers high or low depending on the prototype. Not only do we have school scoreboards, the teachers are also keeping classroom scoreboards for the prototypes they are doing in their classes for all to see.
One thing that was told to us over and over was that you can't have too much communication to your stakeholders. And that is totally true. Lots of surveys were and are sent out to continually get feedback. Social media, local media, monthly updates are other ways we have kept our lines of communication open.
As we are getting ready to launch for our next school year, we felt that one of our students reflected on redesign well.
My name is Catherine Sperlin, and this is my reflection on redesign. Last year was normal. We had paperwork and assignments. We had a schedule that seemed to go on, and now we have fun. The classes are longer, that's true, but we do projects. We have a break to catch up, to read, to have fun. We do what we must when we must do what we're told, to learn and do projects. We go outside when it's warm, we do blogs and slides, and we choose our reports. We sit where we want, we work when we must, and we try our hardest when a test comes our way. Yes, redesign has done this. Redesign has changed our school for better, for worse. I think better, because I sit where I want, I work when I need, I have fun when I get to, and I get to learn new things with computers, with managing time, and I get to practice how to rhyme.
We are excited about the opportunity to launch our plan that will engage students, build relationships, and hold students to a higher standard of learning for our changing world.
So we hope that you enjoyed our story told by the students.
Okay, so from the beginning, building our launch pad, we were fortunate enough that our counselor, he over the summer planned stretch runs every Friday. And that gave our staff, including our paras, pretty much an hour to meet every week during the school day. And so during that time to begin, we wanted each staff member to reflect on why they were even in education, because I think in the hustle of everything, and the 2 years I've been here, it's easy to get lost in all the little things. And so we wanted them to really reflect on why they were in education. So we started there with their whys, and then we sent out our first of the many surveys asking them, the parents, staff, students, what we did well as a school, what we could improve on as a school, and what would a perfect day of learning look like. And so based off of those results, we developed our goal areas, which Cindy went over, some ideas for prototypes, some really crazy ideas. We looked past the roadblocks. And from there, we started thinking about how we could get those going.
When we began designing our rocket, the investigation teams, that was one of the kind of the highlights for a lot of our staff. Our paras really began to buy in and get involved with what was going on, because all the teachers, the staff, paras, teachers, support staff, they were able to pick the investigation team, the area that they were most passionate about or that they had the most connection with. And we saw teachers really, and the parents really getting involved with the research for our investigation teams on best practices, just bringing in different ideas to our weekly meetings. And some of the teams started to combine together for their meetings because there was some overlap, with our PBL group and our personalized learning group. Some of those teachers began to get together. There was a lot of communication within those teams and among those teams, even outside of our weekly meetings. And going through this whole process, a lot of that communication really came down to whittling out what do we want to do, what are we comfortable with, and started to see the benefits that there could be for our students. With the surveys, and one of the things that was mentioned in there are there's no such thing as over communication. I'm pretty sure our 8th graders might disagree with that, and that we spent a lot of time. I don't know if every day we discussed something to do with redesign, but at least 2 or 3 days a week, and some days it was an entire class period. When I would go back from our meetings down here, or our district meetings at home, we spent a chunk of time, getting information to the kids, and then getting feedback on their ideas on what they thought, and so that those surveys were really critical in getting their input, and I think they felt the value in that as well. Narrowing down our prototypes, we had a board full of ideas, and that was one of the longer meetings we had as we had done our investigations and started to narrow those things down. The high school was having a meeting as well, and I'll talk a little bit later about some of the roadblocks and hurdles that we had to deal with. But trying to pick what our best prototypes might be based on the ideas that we had, the things that the kids saw as a need. Really, that was a lot of good conversation and a lot of good interaction as well between staff members and within the building, and the design thinking activities really gave us a shift in how we looked at things as well. That was, for somebody that's been around in education for 30 years, that's some odd stuff. And it was a big shift for many of us, was just to be able to get into that mindset of the design thinking mode, and that really helped kind of push us into the deeper end of the pool.
I'll real quick kind of mention, I think a huge part of this whole process and a part of our story was these site visits that we went to. I know that when we came back from these visits, there were prototypes like, we could try that, we could do this. And so we wanted to just, I'm not going to go through all of them, but we got to see modified blocks. We got to see like our pause. We added the pause too. There was a school doing that, lots of personalized learning, maker spaces with PBO. And almost every single one of our staff members got to either be in on one of these visits. We also had a Skype going on. And so I think that just really got everybody involved and excited to see, other people are doing things like this. What can we do in our school to also get these prototypes going? Just stay.
Again, the pictures we've got up here really, are our group that met, really tried to do a good job of communicating back with our buildings, all of the staff that are there. And as we looked at our action plan, to the things that we wanted to do, once we got our prototypes set, looking at that gap analysis, that was kind of an eye-opener, and Jacqueline kept telling us, don't worry about the roadblocks, don't worry about the hurdles, and I know Brandon kept saying, don't worry about those things. But there are hurdles. One of the biggest is you're dealing with middle school kids. And that's a different animal. And elementary teachers, I don't know how you do it, but I don't know that you get middle school kids even. They're just a different group. And dealing with those hurdles, again, once we were able to push beyond that and say, well, we'll figure it out. We'll manage that. The flexibility that came really was a big part of that. A couple of things that really had a big impact, personally, was communicating with our 8th graders. Having every 8th grade kid that comes through the building, it was a good chance for me to get to know them a little bit better and find out what they wanted from their education. Because at 8th grade, they're too cool for some things, but they're still little kids in some other areas. And to get them to open up, one of the first things we did was the perfect day of learning, and they thought that was cool. We did everything from start at 10 o'clock in the morning to have morning sports practice. They had all kinds of ideas, and as they talked through those things, they realized, well, that's really not going to be feasible. And to see them look at the process, for things that they would like to have was big. But then even more so were the persona canvases that I had all the 8th grade kids did. And we did groups of kids throughout the school, but we had every 8th grade kid do the persona canvas and talk about what they needed from education. And there were a lot of kids that I didn't have them put their names on. They could make up a name or whatever. But I found myself in going through some of those, it's like, I need to know who this kid is. This kid needs a hug, or this would be cool. I need to talk about this idea with this kid, but I don't know who it is. But just getting those they were more willing to open up for what they needed or what they wanted in education. And we saw a lot of different things. And knowing we couldn't address every issue or every want, we tried to develop some prototypes and put them in place that we saw repeating. And that's really where our decision came from, where a lot of those persona canvases and a lot of those perfect day of learning that the kids came up with, that again, for a lot of the teachers, it was way outside the box. And yet, being willing to jump in and say, well, let's try it, see how it works out. Those were really things that helped to drive those prototypes and be able to look at our gap analysis and say, yeah, this is where we're at, but being able to move forward and have a vision of what we want it to look like and how we can maybe get it there. That was a key part for us to one of those aha moments that we've seen.
This is just a summary of the prototypes that we've done, and they're going to talk to those on the next slide.
Student success skills. So, Bangle Break Pause 2, which includes your time, are our whole school prototypes. And Bangle Break was originally Bangle Hour, and that was a 50-minute block where they could eat lunch, go receive extra support from other teachers during this time. Teachers had office hours, reflecting as a middle schooler, thinking about how I would have handled it, I'm not sure. But we pivoted and changed it to Bangle Break, so now it's a 25-minute period where every teacher is available, because we had issues with students saying, well, I ate lunch, but then I went to that teacher's room, and they were on their lunch, and we realized, you're right, that's too confusing. And so we pivoted, changed it, and now they have a 25-minute period after 5th hour to go receive extra support from teachers. We have a lot of kids coming up with their own little clubs. We have a really awesome capture the flag group that goes on every single day, led by 2 7th grade boys. I have students as an ELA teacher starting book clubs. I mean, that's just really cool to see the students coming up with those ideas on their own during this time, because it gave them 25 minutes of their time. And so that's been really neat to see. Pause 2, we incorporated a soft end to the day. It's 10 minutes after 8th hour. We get our pause, our homeroom kids back. And we kind of changed that. We originally wanted it to be an academic time, but we realized at the end of the day, maybe the last thing they want to do is pull out that piece of paper and start working on it again. And so we changed, and now we're doing something called ROAR, and it stands for Reflecting on Academic Responsibilities. And we're trying to meet with each of our pause students for, right now we're like at 3 minutes per kid, but I think that 3 minutes means a lot to some of them. And we sometimes start talking about academics. It usually develops into something other than that. And we have stories about students, you know, and that bell rings at 3:20, those kids are out the door. But sometimes we're still having conversations, and those kids, that bell rings, and they're still sitting there talking to us because we're asking them about them. And that's been really cool to be able to do that. Next year, we kind of prototyped this a little bit this year, the College and Career Competencies Framework. Myself and a couple other teachers are going to get trained regarding that, and we're hopefully going to start incorporating those within our content throughout every grade level and practicing those skills in a relevant way. I have the personalized learning to talk about, and this is a passion of mine, and when we kind of needed people to kind of start with the investigation teams and work with areas, I'm like, this is my one. I was a special education teacher for 16 years, got to work with awesome, great kids, and now I'm an ELA teacher the last several years, and there is a need for kids. Every kid needs personalized learning, and so we have had lots of great things going this year, and we have the plan to scale this for next year. We have been meeting in our curricular areas. We're kind of looking at this like the English team is going to be doing this and the math team is going to be doing this, and that's really our plan for our future state to get these scaled for next year. We have some great ideas. We've met a lot this year, done a lot of research, looked at a lot of things. We're going to keep doing that. That's not something we're going to stop. We're going to be continuing to do that and find new things and changing and adapting. We just have some of the things there the different curricular groups have been working on. Some of it involves technology, some of it doesn't. One of the teachers caught me and she said, my pause kids were talking the other day about your playlist that you're doing in English class, and they're like, oh, we just love that. We know when we go to that class that this is going on, and we can choose how fast we want to go. We can work at our own pace. We can choose how we want to learn. Some kids like to work all by themselves sometimes. Some kids love small groups. Some kids want to come work with me. And so they were having a conversation about that, and that just really hit me they're hearing this is making a difference, and they're really enjoying that. We are using some of our own curriculum. We can give them to that in bits and pieces and let kids keep going if they're ready to keep going, or pull back and do some things with kids individually if they need that. A lot of independent research projects kind of through all curricular areas, I would say, where kids are getting to make choices of things that they're interested in and do their projects on those kind of things. And then I know they could have talked about the modified block and Bangle Break as well. Flexible seating, lots of classrooms now have the standing desks. We have some of the more comfy seating, and so lots of that. So we were planning on that for next year. All of our classes will be working through lots of personalized learning.
As with most small communities, the school is a source of spirit and pride. And how the school partners with that can look many different ways. We've talked about Stripes Rally, and we go out and visit businesses, or we've had career chats where business people come in and talk to our kids or professionals from other places. I'll give you a couple examples. We have what is probably as close as you're going to get to the Clay Center celebrity, Rocky Downing, who does the sports. And he came and did a career chat, and he just happens to work for my husband. And so I was asking about it, and he was like, it was great, I loved it. I loved being able to actually talk to the kids. They hear that voice on the radio, they know that voice, and it was great to make that personal connection. And another career chat was a family new to the community, and the father asked to be a career chat person. And Nick made it, sure, we love to have people come in. And I noticed later on Facebook, he put down, it was a great experience, my daughter even hugged me in the hall. And so it's good for the parents. We have parents as greeters those days. They volunteer, serve donuts, juice, things like that. So we love working with the community people with our partnerships. Kansas Career Clusters, we've talked a little bit about that. We're beginning doing some changing with that.
Probably one of my passions is real world applications, and that's one of the things that I've really tried to incorporate into my technology classes, is trying to get kids out into the business world, seeing what's going on, and also getting business people coming in to my classroom. And these are all the different things we're talking about, and we've talked about several of them, but one of the ones that is the career cluster activities that I've been really passionate about, and that is getting kids to pick a passion that they think at this point in their life that they would want to do, and then having them research that, and then they actually have to put together a presentation for the rest of the classes talking about the careers that are involved with that career cluster. And then they actually get to write a resume, and then we have people from the community come in and they interview them. And the kids have to dress up that day like it's a real interview, so we have mock interviews, not with people that they usually know. And so that's usually very scary for them, but it's also, I feel like, a good introduction to what it's like to go out into the world and have that first job interview. And so that's just some of the things that we're, with all these, we've brought the community into our school and we've taken our kids out. And I think that's helped the communication barrier between community and schools. And one thing that I had a community member tell me was, I said, what would you like to see from our kids? And one of the things that he said was, I want you to keep doing the good things that you're doing and keep getting the kids involved with our businesses, because that's the kids we want to hire when they're out of school. And so I thought that was really neat that they're looking forward to keeping our kids in our community and more campus skills.
As we look down the road, the things that we really feel are valuable and that our kids have engaged in the most have been two of the things, our bingo break and our pause two. Those have been, those are things that we've found through the interactions with the kids that we really want to keep school-wide. The relationships that are starting to form and develop there, not just among the kids themselves, but among different grade level kids, and the student and teacher relationships, those are evolving, and as we are able to work within our pause 2 time, we're refining how that looks and making it just a better process throughout. The things that I think we're most excited about, I know I am, 30 years ago I would never have imagined much of what our middle school looks like. My kids came into my classroom, I had 30 feet of chalkboard space, and it was full of notes, and they took notes, and we talked through the notes. I can't imagine asking a kid to do that now. The project-based learning that we've got going on, that we've worked, in pockets throughout the school. Everybody has bought into, yes, we need to do that school-wide, not just grade-wide, but school-wide. Our personalized learning, that's been a big one for me. I was always, everybody's here, and we're going to move here, and we're going to move here, and we had the sequence of things all throughout the year, and I have to be here by the end of the year. To be able to use some of the personalized learning that we've got in our Pearson Realize curriculum, I've got kids that are, I think the other night my wife was kind of getting on me because I was on my computer all the time. I'm grading stuff the kids have turned in, and I had 12 different things that I graded within just that one night the kids had turned in. They were all spread out through different areas. Some of the kids were working with maps, interactive maps. Some were 60 years ahead working with other primary sources, and it's something I would have never imagined years ago. And so for kids to be able to do things that they're interested in, that they want to learn more about. I have one class of my kids that we spend 3 days a week on more of the traditional curriculum, at kind of their own pace, but then 2 days a week, they're on their own for their own history project. They can pick any time period in history, any format that they want to present it in. I had a kid build a section of the Berlin Wall with out of concrete. He framed it up, and he has graffiti all over it. I have another young lady that did the evolution of women's rights in American history, and has, I think, 78 different events or things on that timeline that she put together, and things that they were really interested in. And that personalization has been something that I've really kind of jumped in and said, this is a whole lot cooler than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be, it's a lot of work, but to see the kids' engagement in that has really paid off this year. And I can't go into my 3rd hour class and start with the same information that I can in my 4th or my 5th hour class. A lot of times I'll start in and they'll say, that's not us, that was somebody else. We were, oh yeah, because they're not just each class, but within the class, they're all doing different things. Our community partnership, I've got, I'm from Play Center. I've been there, seems like forever. And a lot of the businesses, a lot of the community they're excited about all the different schools that are becoming engaged with the business and the community itself. Not just the businesses, but the civic organizations. And the help that they're providing and the interaction that's there has been great. I've had some teachers that I know in different districts that have called and asked about, hey, what's going on with these Stripes Rally things you guys do, or the career chats? And so it's things that are having an impact on not only our kids, but the community itself. And we're super excited about it. And I know, it's more of a personal thing, but I've gone from looking at my 30th year next year, thinking, hey, I could retire in 3 years, to now it's, hey, in 15 years when I retire, we can do this. And as a teacher, that's maybe not the norm, but that's kind of where I've gone this year. From looking 3 years down the road to, oh, I don't know that I'm going to be ready for that, to pushing that out to 15. And, so that says a lot for this whole process and the things that we're going to be able to do. I think I'll probably jump ahead to the next slide. And that just, I think, lends itself to the idea and the fact that as a staff and a building, we've embraced the process, and we're looking to bring in our new teachers. We've got a couple of new teachers coming in next year that will hopefully have the same enthusiasm for new ideas and doing things a new way. Our staff is great. We've learned to be even more flexible than middle schools have had to be in the past. Coming up with new ideas has been something that has become the norm if something does need a pivot. those new ideas pop up, and the willingness to try new things, not because it's better for us, but because it works better for the kids. And it's something, a lot of the things are student generated, their ideas, and the ability to adapt to that and embrace that, I think has been big for our building this year, just through the whole process.